What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham, G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the March 26, 2022 edition of Talking Smack. You had Jackie Redmond in the studio, Matt Camp, and their special guest analyst for this week, Peter Rosenberg, joining them as well, virtually, of course. So they run down the biggest headlines from SmackDown to start the show. Not the best episode of SmackDown on Friday. Honestly, kind of thought it was a sucky show. I talked about it more in depth yesterday here on the channel in my full breakdown of SmackDown in audio form rather. So check out that review when you get a chance. They also recap Ricochet's matches from SmackDown that saw him lose to both Angel and Humberto in back-to-back championship contenders matches, leading to a triple threat match being made for next week. A triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship: Ricochet versus Angel versus Humberto. We hear backstage from Los Lotharios with Kayla Braxton, and Angel says that they deserve everything in the company. Humberto says that the interference from either member of Los Lotharios in their respective matches with Ricochet and SmackDown were, justifiable. He kind of excuses that interference in the matches, both matches on Friday. And then they kind of argue over who's going to win the championship in the triple threat, because, of course, only one man can walk out of the triple threat as the Intercontinental Champion. They ask Kayla for her prediction. She denies, and they throw it back to the studio, which was funny. Peter Rosenberg says that Ricochet has bad momentum going into WrestleMania weekend. You fucking think? I mean, the guy lost 2 back-to-back matches as the Intercontinental Champion. Not exactly stellar booking from WWE with the mid-card titles, which really shouldn't surprise me given their track record of the Ricochet in recent years, but it is what it is. Camp says that they divided and conquered in their matches on Friday before replaying the Ronda Rousey-Charlotte Flair exchange. Not the strongest verbal exchange I've heard from either woman. Flair was fine. Rousey's mic work still needs work. Still not the best. Camp kind of talks about what a win would mean for both women. For Ronda, kind of just further cementing her legacy as the most dominant woman in all of WWE, while with Charlotte, she can get that elusive win over Rousey. Rousey has yet to beat Charlotte as well. Or no, Rousey did beat Charlotte by DQ. Or was it Charlotte who beat Ronda? I don't fucking remember. But a win for both women at WrestleMania would be monstrous, of course, come WrestleMania weekend next week. Camp says that Charlotte is smart to kind of hang back this week, not get physical after getting the better of Ronda 2 weeks in a row. So he kind of defends her decision to sit back this week. They also recap the Fatal 4-Way match from Friday, which saw Sasha Banks beat the triad, or whatever the word would be, of Queen Zelina, not at once, but Queen Zelina, Rhea Ripley, and Shayna Baszler in Fatal 4-Way action. Camp calls it a preview of what he expects to happen at WrestleMania, as Sasha and Naomi are his picks to win the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. We hear backstage with Kayla, it's Sasha Banks and Naomi. Sasha says that they're guaranteed to win the tag titles at WrestleMania. Naomi says that she has Sasha's back and they'll steal the show per usual. She wants to face the best, or they want to face the best of the best in that tag team division. They feel like they're doing that in the Fatal 4-Way next weekend. Her confidence is high thanks to Sasha now, and Sasha kind of reiterates that they have no days off heading into WrestleMania, no days out of the gym. They're going to be going full force into this match at Mania. Matt Camp says that Sasha needs this win at WrestleMania, not only because they're his picks to win, they got the momentum, but he kind of emphasizes, as not a lot of people are talking about this, but Sasha is 0-6 at WrestleMania. A lot of those matches she probably shouldn't have won, but she should have won at WrestleMania 32 in my opinion. Taking the title from Bayley at 36, I don't know, but a couple of those, 35, it would have been nice to see her and Bayley hold on to the tag titles for a little longer. But she is 0-6. She lost last year in the main event to Bianca Belair, and she really does need this win. I mean, no one has a worse WrestleMania record than fucking Sasha Banks. I think Jeff for a while was like 0-5, 0-6 or whatever, but even he eventually got to win at WrestleMania. Sasha, that needs to happen for her this year. As pointless as those tag titles are, a win is a win, and hopefully this year she gets that win in the tag team title matchup. They then recap the closing segment of SmackDown that saw Brock go on a rampage and go after the Bloodline and destroy all the security, kind of similar to what we've seen on SmackDown in recent weeks. They buckle down and call both Jackie and Matt, call Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar indeed the biggest WrestleMania match ever, which is in fact not the fucking case. I hate that they kind of that's WWE's awful marketing machine there. Like, oh, it's the biggest WrestleMania ever, the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, the most stupendous this, the most stupendous that. For the company to say it, whatever, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like they're adding their own analysis by agreeing it is indeed their biggest WrestleMania match ever. Jackie, I kind of understand saying that. She clearly doesn't have a vast knowledge of the product. She does in recent years, but, Matt Camp has said stuff that she didn't remember, like if she doesn't even know the puppies comment from Jerry Lawler from a few weeks ago, which I'm honestly kind of glad she doesn't because it's crude and it's gross and whatever, but, that's a classic commentary line from Jerry Lawler. If she doesn't even know that, then she probably wouldn't know some of the greatest and biggest WrestleMania matches of all time. Matt Camp knows better. I wrote a whole fucking article this morning on Bleacher Report, cheap plug, talking about what are indeed the biggest WrestleMania matches of all time, including Rock and Hogan, Rock and Cena, Rock and Austin, a lot of Rock matches on there, so check it out when you get a chance. Anyway, so they also recap the King Woods return versus Ridge Holland, beating him in under a minute. We hear backstage, no Megan Morant this week. It was all Kayla Braxton. I'm glad we got Kayla Braxton back, but she did all the backstage interviews this week. We hear backstage with her and the New Day's King Woods and Kofi Kingston. Woods says that, Kofi says that Woods is looking regal. He's looking great, which he does. And Woods says that Brooklyn's kind of like a second home for the New Day, so it was cool to return in that building because it was at SummerSlam in 2015, which I was there for, that they won their second set of tag team titles. Not their first, but that second title one was very special, and I remember the crowd going crazy when they won. Anyway, so Woods also adds that Big E's home, resting, recovering, and he's in good spirits. And Woods also adds that they will settle their score with Butch, Sheamus, and Ridge, and then it's time to go to work. And he kind of hinted on Twitter what that could mean, and he's got his sights set on the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know if that's something WWE wants him to do as far as what they're planning for him, or if it's Woods just going into business for himself, like he has with the King of the Ring stuff for years now, because he wants that Intercontinental Championship, which honestly is a modest goal to have. I don't think Woods will ever become world champion. I don't see that happening, but him as a mid-card champion is possible, and I would like to see it, so hopefully that happens at some point. To kind of close out the show, they have a lot of analysis with Peter, Matt, and Jackie. Rosenberg predicts a big year, a bright year ahead for King Woods, and he feels like he'll be a big part of the WrestleMania build next year as well, because he kind of missed it this year, unfortunately. Not because he was injured. He was hurt for a while, but he's been clear to compete for a little bit now. So I don't know why they waited so long to bring him back. But anyway, Matt Camp kind of backs that up and says that Xavier's been on a massive roll as king since late last year. Hopefully he can continue now that he's back. Rosenberg says he spoke to Roman in an interview for the Michael Kay show or whatever in New York ahead of SmackDown on Friday, and says that Roman always puts himself in a place where he wants to be momentum-wise, heading into a big match like this, going into WrestleMania 38. Camp says that Lesnar was playing mental games, the mind games on Friday's SmackDown, and he hypes what could happen on Monday's Raw when they finally go face-to-face again on that go-home edition of Raw. Rosenberg says that Lesnar's legacy is essentially already cemented, so he feels this is a bigger match for Roman than it is for Brock, which he is right. I mean, Matt Camp also adds that Roman needs this match more. He needs this win more because he's never beaten Brock at WrestleMania before. This is their third WrestleMania match. The first one turned into a triple threat, but neither man won that one. They had a rematch at WrestleMania 34 that was won by Brock. And Roman has beaten Brock at SummerSlam 2018. He beat him at Crown Jewel last year, but never at WrestleMania. So that's a great point to add that I feel like they really should hammer home on TV that they haven't mentioned enough already. Anyway, so they also talk about how Brock Lesnar could be on the Mount Rushmore for WWE wrestlers if he wins this match at Mania, which I guess for some he might already be on that Mount Rushmore. For me, he's not. For a lot of people, I don't think he is. You hear Rocket thrown around, Austin, even John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Bruno maybe. I would put all those people ahead of Brock personally, but if Brock wins at WrestleMania, he could indeed be on that Mount Rushmore, according to Brock Lesnar, or according to not Brock Lesnar. You would never see Brock Lesnar caught dead on a fucking show like Talking Smack, but according to Matt Camp, I think it might have been Peter Rosenberg. But Rosenberg adds that he thinks Lesnar is the most entertaining dude in the entire business, which honestly, a case can be made for that. Cowboy Brock is amazing. I don't know about the entire business, but a case can absolutely be made for that. Definitely the most entertaining Brock I've ever seen. And that includes his first run with the company 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, this version of Brock is money. But anyway, Rosenberg, they kind of close out the show talking about the whole Triple H thing. They don't really talk about the health scare, which I wish they did go more in depth with that and wish him well, and that because the wrestling shit is kind of irrelevant, but they kind of also talk about his in-ring career coming to an end. They call him an all-time great, Rosenberg does, and almost underrated in a way because he was around for so many matches and moments over the last 25 plus years, which I don't know if I would call Triple H underrated. If anything, a lot of people would say he was overrated, but I can kind of understand where he's coming from. And then Matt Camp also congratulates him on a great career. And they also hype up the final face-off between Roman and Brock on Monday's Raw. The WrestleMania edition of Raw is what they're calling it. WrestleMania Raw, which is so fucking dumb. I feel like the post-WrestleMania Raw would be more of a WrestleMania Raw than this coming Raw, but whatever. I'm saying Raw a lot. That was it for Talking Smack for March 26, 2022. Good episode. I thought the interviews were well done. Kind of was nearing towards 30 minutes. I don't think these episodes of Talking Smack need to be fucking 30 minutes long, especially when a lot of what we see on SmackDown isn't really all that newsworthy, and that's 4 times the length. So I think a 20-minute show would suffice, in my opinion. Take out the fucking recaps, the replays, the commercials, which you unfortunately can't do sometimes with Peacock, but whatever. And it's a much stronger show, in my opinion. But overall, this was fine, though. Thank you guys for checking out my review, of this edition of Talking Smack. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content if you haven't already. I mentioned this in my SmackDown review yesterday. Very likely, I don't think there even is going to be a Talking Smack next week. I mean, there's Stand and Deliver starting on Saturday morning before Mania that night. So I know they've done Talking Smacks on the Saturdays of pay-per-views before, like with the Rumble. Not with Day One, but with the Rumble they did. I don't think they're going to be doing that with WrestleMania, nor should they, because Stand and Delivers that day anyway. So if there is a Talking Smack, maybe I'll watch it and review it for Sunday. I usually do it for Sunday, but it's going to be an amazingly busy weekend. I will be there in Dallas for all this stuff. I'm aiming to attend as much as possible, so I'm not even sure if I'm going to have time to watch Talking Smack until like a fucking week later. But if there is an episode, I'll watch and review it. If there's not, even better. You'll get other content here on the channel at some point, I promise you. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the road to WrestleMania, what's left of it anyway. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.